Next on Valley News Live at 10, a barn burns to the ground just a month after a family's horse mysteriously is shot and killed.
New details emerge regarding a West Fargo teacher charged with sex crimes.
Plus, hundreds of thousands of dollars being spent in North Dakota to help with suicide prevention. Valley News Live at 10 starts right now.
This is Valley News Live at 10.
We've just taken it so much, you know, it's a lot. Yeah. It's a lot.
New tonight at 10, a Minnesota family says it seems to be one thing after another. Nearly a month ago, we told you about a horse that was shot and killed in rural Earhart.
Well, tonight we're learning that a barn at the same location is burned to the ground. Valley News Team's Courtney Lockie has our story.
It just seems very overwhelming.
Life on Yvonne Whitlock's farm has been anything but easy the last month.
I know we're not supposed to get more than what we can handle.
But as Whitlock sifts around what's left of her barn, she says it might be too much. It was about a month ago a horse was shot and killed on her farm. She told us at that time she was fearful something else might happen.
It still puts the fear into them and to us of, you know, what's next.
She and the horse's owners still waiting for answers. Now again, Whitlock finds herself searching.
I seen like charcoal color and it was just rolling. Before I turned around and could call 911, there were flames shooting out of the top of the roof.
Whitlock says she was out doing her chores early Saturday morning when the barn caught fire. By the time crews showed up,
it just took off.
2/3 of the barn was already gone. Fire crews tell us there wasn't much they could do by the time they made it out to the farm, adding the barn was too badly burned for them to find a cause to this fire. To Yvonne and her parents, whom she takes care of, this is the place they've always called home.
It's hard, you know, to have something that, you know, they've kind of treasured here or there and, you know, it's stored away or whatever. It was all in there.
Whitlock says this time around she's thankful no one was hurt, adding she hopes her and her family catch a break soon. In Freiburg Township, Courtney Lockie, Valley News Live.
Authorities say that the barn is too badly damaged to determine any cause, adding that there's no way to tell if the fire and the horse being killed are connected in any way.
If you need help uncovering fraud or corruption in your community, call our Whistleblower Hotline 237-6576 and leave your tip. A member of our investigative team will get on the case and go to work to expose the truth. An area of West Fargo is open once again after being shut down for a while this evening. Around 7 p.m., police took someone into custody in the area of 19th Avenue and 16th Street East. They diverted traffic at the time, but that area is now open to drivers. We are still waiting on information, but police say the arrest poses no threat to the public.
We're waiting tonight to find out when a former West Fargo school teacher will be arrested or will turn himself in. A warrant has been issued for Ron Thompson, who today was charged with luring a minor for sex online. Police say evidence is seized of the investigation showing explicit conversations between Thompson and a 14-year-old girl who is actually an undercover officer in Florida. While authorities say this case does not involve any local kids, Thompson is not the first West Fargo educator to be accused of sexual misconduct with a minor. And when asked if the district has a culture problem, Superintendent Beth Slutty says there are protocols in place to make sure people like this are weeded out in the hiring process.
These are our children. This is our community. And we want to keep our children safe. And I do believe that the school itself is a reflection of the community, and I think the dangers are in our community, and the school is not exempt from that.
Police say there's still evidence that they have to look over, which means Thompson could be facing more charges.
It's Who Are They Wednesday for the Fargo Police Department. Officers are asking for your help identifying two men. The first man here by the pickup is suspected of unauthorized use of personal identification. This man is also suspected of unauthorized use of personal identification, plus unauthorized entry into a motor vehicle. If you know who they are or where they could be, call or text police or submit an anonymous tip online. We have the link to do that on our website, valleynewslive.com.
Clay County Public Health has received more vaccination doses this week. Clay County just received 1,300 first and second vaccination doses. That's a huge increase from the 200 first doses and 900 second doses received last week. Both Pfizer and Moderna have said that they're ramping up production. So far in Clay County, close to 8,000 people have received the first dose and close to 4,000 for the second.
Pfizer and Moderna are enrolling children 12 years and up in their pediatric trials for the COVID vaccine. Both hope to have results by this summer. A Mayo Clinic pediatrician says the companies plan to present their findings to the FDA that the vaccines are safe in children. He says so far the pediatric trials haven't raised any red flags, adding some of the most common vaccines already administered in children contain the same ingredients used for adults. He believes as soon as the companies get approval for children 12 and up, those under 12, including toddlers and babies, will be next for trials.
Moderna has come up with a vaccine that may protect against the South African variant of COVID-19. It's an updated version of its coronavirus vaccine. It's being evaluated both as a booster shot for people who have already been vaccinated and as a primary vaccine for people who have not. Studies have suggested the South African variant is more resistant to vaccines than the original COVID-19 strain.
It's looking like the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is set to be approved, but will there be enough? There's growing concern when it comes to production of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. According to the White House, only 3 to 4 million doses have been produced. It was first reported there would be 10 million doses. The vaccine has already received the FDA's recommendation for emergency use and could be approved as early as Friday. And you can stay up to date with the latest COVID vaccine-related information by checking out our VNL vaccine tracker. You can visit our website or simply open your phone camera and point it at the QR code on your screen and then tap the link that pops up.
Suicide is a problem all across the nation and right here in North Dakota, but help may be on the way. Grant funding was just announced to help with suicide prevention efforts. Valley News Team's Aaron Walling sat down with Dr. John Ulvin of Sanford about this growing issue.
The North Dakota Human Services Behavioral Health Division announced this week that they are opening grant opportunities to support implementation of suicide prevention efforts. Dr. John Ulvin explains that the pandemic has made this issue even worse.
And we can speak to the national suicide rate, and we can speak to the rates here in North Dakota to say that they're getting worse over time. And there are some really important things that have happened, some data that we have now to even say during the course of this pandemic, the people thinking about suicide and people making suicide attempts, that the rate of that behavior is going up.
These grants are open for local governments and private organizations, community nonprofits, and tribal nations. There are 19 grants with $750,000 available for these efforts. Dr. Ulvin spoke on the state starting up this initiative.
Whenever the state, and we've got other entities that are trying to increase access to care, it's a potential win for our state. I think that the maybe silver lining is that the stress of this pandemic is really calling on us in the state of North Dakota to increase our IQ when it comes to mental health and the need to have better access to mental health resources.
Dr. Ulvin says that the next wave to deal with in this pandemic is mental health. The deadline for the grant application is on March 5th. In Fargo, Aaron Walling, Valley News Live.
First Link, along with the state, is implementing a 3-digit number to call for anyone in distress by July 2022. But for now, the number to call is 1-800-273-8255. That's the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, and it's operated 24 hours, 7 days a week. If you or a loved one is feeling isolated, a brief phone call could really make a difference. A new study shows talking to an empathetic listener for 10 minutes every few times a week lowers feelings of loneliness by 20%. It's an even bigger decrease for anxiety and depression, 30%.
President Joe Biden signed an executive order on the economy today. He's starting a 100-day review on critical supply chains. The team will work to identify and fix potential cracks in supply chains that could cause shortages of items like chips inside cars, minerals in flat-screen televisions, batteries in electric vehicles, and ingredients in life-saving medicines. The president also hopes to find out how much of that supply is dependent on countries like China. The Federal Reserve suffered a widespread disruption in multiple payment services today. According to the Fed's website, it involved a crucial payment system called FedWire. Banks and businesses rely on it to move trillions of dollars around each day. The problems lasted for about 4 hours. Some Fed services are still down. It is not clear how many businesses or banks were affected.
Just days before the terrifying United Airlines engine failure, the Federal Aviation Administration met to talk about mandating more frequent inspections for the engine that did fail. United Airlines Flight 328 made an emergency landing in Denver on Saturday when its engine failed. It happened with a loud bang minutes after takeoff. The FAA's review last week came after a December failure of the same engine on another Boeing in Japan.
Coming up on Valley News Live at 10, a shocking diagnosis for a Rugby, North Dakota teenager. She opens up about her medical journey and how Make-A-Wish made her dream come true.
But first, after a slushy day, some good news in the forecast for tomorrow. Hutch will be in next with your full forecast.